We have to push.
We are red is on.
Today is Thursday, March 8th, year 2018, and the time is 4:46. Like this meeting of the Tilton Board of Selectmen now comes to order. Please let the record show that Ashley will not be joining us this evening, and John Scanlon should be here on 5. Let us stand and pledge allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Public Works Director. How was the storm last night? Was it
Snow.
that wet snow? Was
Yes, very much wet and heavy.
Heavy.
Does that make it harder to plow?
Very
Is that-
much.
In other words, is it?
It moves a lot.
Longer?
Yes,
Okay, I was just curious.
yes it does. It moves a lot harder. It's
Pounds per square foot go up dramatically.
dramatically.
You're holding water.
Okay.
And this time of year, it's
unusual.
that's what it's doing, is holding it.
Get your roofs cleared off now.
I was amazed, it took me some effort to get out to the barn this morning. I was the first one there. I was like,
Rough night.
a little thick and, seemed like when it came back, it was worse, like I turned it into this slushy, icy, snowy stuff. It was really strange snow. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, I guess I'll start with the sweeping contract things. I know there's some questions that we had. So I'll leave the floor open to you guys to ask your questions.
There was a notation on the side of one of them that was, we had questions about that you said it was.
Unsatisfactory.
Mhm.
Yep. And the problem with that is the person that has been doing it in the past and been doing it a long time no longer owns the business. It was bought out by somebody else, and it is less than standard. It takes more time. 3 days of the time he was with us broke down in my yard.
Broke down on Cedar Street too.
Broke down on Cedar Street. The reason, I understand the one that I don't know, can we say names without being in non-public? No. Well, the one that I had said that,
You're number one?
yes, all brand new equipment. I know it's a little more money, but sometimes the lowest bid isn't always the best bang for your buck. But regardless, it needs to be decided on soon so I can get somebody booked, or we're not gonna be able to get it. It's my recommendation to use the top one, who is, everybody uses them. And I'd actually like to use him for both because he is competitive on the other stuff.
He was actually high on the other stuff, right?
No, he was,
It was low.
Yeah, I think it was low on the other.
yeah, on the other. He was high on the
Two were the
sweep.
same, one was
He was a
higher.
little higher on the sweeping. But we can also, if you notice, for $195, he'll bring his own trucks in and haul the stuff off himself. With all the other ones, we have to provide a truck, which is, we're paying a guy, we're paying for fuel.
Do we still have to pay for a guy to be there with them or no?
When?
Flagger. Show them where to go.
The cleaning, the drainage one.
Yeah, you're gonna have somebody to show, the drainage?
Typically in the
cleaning.
past, we had,
Right, yes, you have to have one
Flagger.
person.
and so we've had two people.
Yes, you have to have that with anybody, that's with any
So
of them.
catch basin cleaning,
But-
we have to have 2 of our own men there.
Any of
Yes, not 2 of our own men, just one that has to go with them. We
Okay.
don't need 2 guys to,
In the past, it's been 2, so.
Well, wait. Are you on sweeping or catch
Yeah,
basin
we're
on
cleaning?
sweeping.
You guys are
Catch basin
flipping.
cleaning.
yeah,
Catch
catch
basin
basin
That's
cleaning.
the-
And that could be job depending on where he's at for the day. If we're doing the back part, we can probably do with just one. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's gonna be more than a couple of days with, he has a brand new vac truck, it is brand new. But regardless, either way, you've got to have the flag whether you do either one. It doesn't,
Did you account for that price in the budget?
Yes, yeah, I don't have, I really don't have anything other than catch basins and the sweeping with my subcontractor line, really, because we've done every bit of the winter cleanups ourselves. We haven't spent any money on cleaning up, which is usually, we've spent, especially the way the winter's been, we've spent quite a lot of money on that.
Question for you.
Absolutely.
The multi one.
Yep.
How much would a sweeper cost for
We have
that?
one.
So if we have a sweeper for that, after the spring cleanup, couldn't we use the multi one then to do the downtown?
We do that now.
So then will that reduce all of these, or are we still,
Yeah, last year we did all the regular maintenance sweeping with the multi-one.
okay.
We didn't do, like down, but when you asked us about the end of your road and stuff, we do that with
Just,
multi-one.
oh, really?
Yeah, we do that with
Just use the
multi-one.
street room. All you need to do is tell District 3 they put the catch basin on the wrong end. Put it on the downstream side. So every storm it washes across
Oh
to
my
get
God.
to the drain.
It's-
So, are you telling me that we only sweep once
That's,
a
yeah,
year?
no, yeah, with,
Sweep in the spring.
with paying a sweeper.
Paying a sweeper, we do it in the spring.
Yes, the
once.
rest of the sweeping we do with the multi-one. The multi-one isn't big enough to go
So-
sweeping
No,
the streets.
no.
with.
Main Street, I thought did we completely, totally eliminate Main Street? Or do we do Main Street?
The state does Main Street, and what happens is I coincide with the company, and we do the sidewalks off onto the thing, so when the state comes through, we get out there the day before and pull all our sand off.
Yep.
So, well, that's,
So we utilize some of the state's.
I guess I don't know what years these are.
Huh? There you go.
How?
Invoice date.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, okay. So 2017, we swept the roads in 4/19, the 20 and 23, and May 10th.
Yeah, that was Cedar Street, must have been May 10th.
Well, and that being said,
Okay.
he had a trainee on, so it was taking twice the time to do it. The person that was running the sweeper had never run the sweeper before. So I think for the extra money, we're getting a lot more bang for our buck because we're getting brand new equipment and we're getting an operator that knows how to run the equipment, which is,
So did I hear you suggest that we do the 195 per hour
that's where I'm,
using his own truck, and I assume his own man to drive his own truck?
and
Why?
well, they bring their own dump trucks.
Why? We have trucks, we have got,
Right, and you're right, that's why I put it both ways, so the decision is.
if we were right out straight, it'd be one thing, but
Right,
one,
But,
what?
so for $55 more
An hour.
an hour, you're getting their truck
and they got it.
and their guy, and our guy must cost,
If you break it,
benefits?
yeah, if you break it down, and that's why I wanted to
Plus
bring
the
the,
30
give you
an
guys
hour.
both the,
it's gotta be.
So you're gonna spend almost an extra $900 on 2 days to have that truck.
Well, it costs us at least what, 30, at
We-
least
he-
$30
he's-
an
It
hour.
costs us regardless, Captain, he's gonna be somewhere.
right, we're gonna pay him no matter
And we
what.
don't charge the truck out like Pike, so whether the truck's parked or not, the only thing you're gonna do is use a little fuel.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, regardless of whether he's over here mowing the lawn or he's there, our guy's
I
there,
understand that,
we're paying
but
him.
the time of year this is done, aren't you busy?
Yes, but it's,
And we've always done it
we
this
could,
way.
yeah, we can make it work, I know.
Why spend more? That's,
No, I'm good, I'm just
Okay.
throwing it out there. I
Good.
needed to hear that.
sorry, I'm cheap.
No, I needed to hear that. So we're discussing this,
And-
right?
But you're absolutely right in saying that, we're gonna pay him anyway.
I
So,
can give you mine real quick if you want.
we.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, where's he gonna dump? Because if he's hauling distance, then we may see even more hour on the trucking
So
side.
he just
Right.
explained
I don't-
I'm gonna dump as much as I can
that,
in that spot out
The
line.
only-
Okay,
Number
because, You know,
It's
my
not the
neighbor
same
usually
person,
takes
it was
stuff.
sold.
Joe, yeah, no, we're, anything that's in there is going to Joe, we've already
Right.
spoken to
No,
him.
usually he's pretty, unless you piss him off.
No, he's great.
Oh, yeah,
No, he's
normally
great.
he's-
Something
No,
changed, so
absolutely.
that's why we had the difficulties.
No, yeah, and we've spoken with him, and he's, he'll take whatever we
The
want.
feeling is that number
Some of
one,
those down trees
We'll do it in
on the
less
sides, I'm gonna
time.
grab one of these days.
Yeah.
we thought we were gonna pay $20
Well, we went down there.
I saw you cut
We were
one.
down there cutting brush up and
We
whatnot.
will,
Yeah. You may see some stuff disappear over the weekend.
$70 an hour more, right? $75 an hour more?
no, $20 an hour more.
Right. Number 3 is 120 an hour, and number 1 is $195.
Oh, wait a minute.
No,
The
no, that's
number
for the
one,
truck.
John, is the same guy with his own trucks. He brings his own trucks for 195. If we use our trucks, he charges us the second one.
And the third one
Oh,
brings
the
his own
second
trucks.
price on there?
Yeah, that's the same guy, it's just one's with trucks, one's not with trucks.
And that's for the town one, as well as the weekly.
No,
The weekly, we've been doing ourselves with the multi one. We've got a broom for the multi one. So last year, we did all the town, we
Did you
did,
do it yourself?
yeah, we did it ourselves.
You got that sheet, it's right on it, there's only one line for 17.
16, all this week, that's all we did. And this was because of the rate.
Saving 16, we're doing less of a cost for street sweeping overall. Who's got what type of equipment?
The number one pick, and that's half the reason why I went with that, everything he does is brand new. Even the catch basin machine, it's brand new. And his machine, he updates it every 3 years, not just tries to scab it together to keep it running. Everything gets re-upped. And because he's got so many contracts, I mean, the state is, he does everything for the state.
Because that was the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right, and
was
we,
the continual breakdown and.
well, and the other person before that you used to use was great, but he doesn't own the company anymore. They've sold it. Last year, we got a guy that was learning how to sweep, and then the machine spent 3 days, broke down in our parking lot.
So
So,
we've been doing 2 days, you got 4 days listed last year.
right, yeah, he'd come and work for a day, and then the thing would break down, and then he'd come back a week later and work for a day. I'd rather just get it done.
You know, this cost for 2017 for 1, 2, 3, 4 days just seems inordinate. Because if you go down to 2000,
It's by your hour, Catherine.
I know, but I'm looking at like the others. And for 3 days in 2016, August 5th, 18th, and September 1st, it was $465.
That's for
That's Main Street.
that's Main Street, when he comes in and sweeps Main
It's the
Street.
bottom one in each grouping you wanna look at. That's the spring sweep.
Sweeping the town roads.
Sweeping of town roads?
Yeah.
Okay, because that just says sweep roads. But he was here 1, 2, 3, 4 days
Who?
16 is still.
in 2017.
Yes, he was.
In
Like I just-
2017 or 16?
17, he was here April 19th, 20th,
Yes,
23rd, and May
because he was
10th.
breaking down.
And he
partly.
had a guy in the machine that had no idea
Right.
what he was doing.
I just think it seems like a lot.
Well, it shows you, because we've been down to 2 days for multiple years prior.
Oh, I see,
2016, May 10th and 13th.
I see.
2015, the
Okay.
20th, 2 sweepers, 1 day.
Okay.
14,
Does
he
he
have
have
a
a
high
high lift?
Yeah, what happened in 14?
Does it have the
Nothing.
high lift dump thing?
Yeah, he has
Five,
yes,
five,
it'll
six,
dump in the
and
back of a
14.
dump truck. Yeah.
You see
It's
that?
not like
I do
a
see
sack
it.
roll.
They're doing it.
Right,
they've been
because
doing it in 2
that's where
days.
the 195
So
came.
last year
Because
was
he'll bring his own 10-wheeler.
Okay, motion to go with Avery.
second.
For both
for both, the catch basin.
catch
and-
basin and sweeping.
Second.
At, discussion, at the, 195 an hour, or
No.
140?
Well, I'd like them to use their truck. That would free up our truck to do whatever we need to have.
At that,
You're wasting your money.
at that time.
You just changed my vote. If you want to use their truck, I'm a no vote. Sorry.
I
So
think-
if we use our, if we
We've always
use
used ours.
Yes, and I just, and I put that number on there so you had something to go by. I would say use our truck too, because it's that time of year when we've got we've got mowing, we're cleaning up, we've got one guy that can do that, we've got a guy that can go with them and we can,
Okay.
that would work out.
I'm okay with it.
So are we at the 140?
So the motion is to use Avery for the sweeping at 140 using our truck?
Yep.
Our,
And man, because he's got to guide him around anyways.
Right.
and our man, well, obviously if we're using our truck, he's not gonna drive it. And then for the drain cleaning, it's catch basins, we have one guy with him.
Yes, that's right.
That's the motion.
So that motion is to use Avery for both the sweeping, the catch basin cleaning, and the sweeping is at the 140.
At the 140 an hour, right.
I'll second that.
Everybody,
Everybody's
okay.
clear with that.
Any more discussion? The motion on the table? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Done. Go forth and clean.
That was
Let's
easy.
get rid of a little snow first.
Yeah, we almost had it gone, it was
I know.
almost gone.
I know.
How is our new,
Almost gone.
how is our new hire doing with this? Was he out there in it?
He is very, very much doing very, very well as anticipated. He's in the big truck. We had him in there today plowing with the wing and the plow. We had him in the multi-one today doing the sidewalks. He is, you tell him something and it's it. He's got it. Which I kind of had to figure that was what was going to happen. He's been around it his whole life.
So his experience
It
is
is
showing
showing
through.
very, very much. He is very,
That's good news.
yep, very,
Very
very
nice.
good. Just a small story, we're up doing brush up on, up off a ridge where the birches had been over and they were
Oh,
hitting the truck from the ice storm. We were over there cleaning them up and Johnny was running the chipper, standing there, Lee was cutting, we were standing on the, and you see him come up over the bank, and he has got a forest of trees. And everybody there just stopped and was like, and the other, he's like, the kid's gonna run me ragged. But he's a good kid, he's gonna do very, very well.
that's good.
If at all possible, if it's okay with the board, and I was gonna bring it up later, no hurry, obviously, could we possibly get our porch pressure treated and painted at the senior center? Because it's all peeled, the paint on the front is all peeled. I don't care if it happens in the fall, whenever it happens, it happens.
I don't wanna say absolutely because of the time constraint, but if
Yeah.
we've got time and the board's okay with it, I'll see if I can get it.
And we will help out.
Yeah, that's,
I don't-
but I don't wanna make any promises that I can't commit to. I'll try,
If you can, just let us know, and we'll maybe try to have youth assistance program help
okay.
with it. It's just, we just gotta buy the paint. But it really doesn't need a pressure wash. So we're looking at the other
A
day.
pressure washer or paint?
Well, first needs to get a pressure wash because the paint is actually peeled up and it's just
So
hanging
instead
there.
of scraping by hand.
Pressure
Oh, because it has all
wash.
those little posts and stuff, you know?
Which is
Even the
fine.
posts.
I just will probably have to do some, I don't know as though, we've got that big steam pressure washer, I don't know if you wanna hit the building with that, and maybe, I have to.
I have a pressure washer, but.
Okay, because the one that we got puts out a lot of pressure and it's steam.
Yeah, and you have to be careful because you don't have the right size nozzle, you'll actually take away pieces of wood.
Well, that's what I'm worried about, that's a big machine that we have, that's made for equipment,
It's
not,
made for metal.
yeah.
Yeah. I have a gas one that has
Yeah.
4 different nozzles, I don't use it that often.
Well, the
so
ones
I
that you
don't
get
really
like at
know.
Home Depot and stuff, you're not gonna
Okay,
hurt it with.
so then we're, more than, just kinda wanna throw that out there because it really looks like, you know, it's a really nice building, but the front part of the porch now is just like very warm.
Yep.
Wicked. But
Well,
I know you guys are really busy.
and this summer I've got plans on getting some stuff done, so.
If you
Summer.
can't, just let us know ahead of
Yeah,
time.
I know. I do have a question, I just spoke with Catherine about it earlier, and we were looking at some things. I'd like to cut some more trees on Mansville, some more big pines, and get that opened up, because you can clearly see when you drive down Mansville where the pines are.
Sun, no sun.
Sun, no sun, it's day, night, and we were looking at setbacks and how far we gotten it. By the looks of that paperwork, we've got some room to.
Yeah, somewhere downstairs is the survey that Krause did for us for Danville Road. If you could get that out, that would be great.
How far out did he come?
He went from, I believe, Route 3 all the way to the end of Mansville. I don't know if we had him do Crystal or not. Seems to me he did part of Crystal for some
So he went
reason.
down Crystal.
We're in there ourselves, fitting the underbrush and the small stuff, but there's some big trees.
So where do you want, on the other side?
On
Or
the
is it
right-hand
this-
side going in Mansville.
So on the same side that we cut
That
the
we
trees
cut,
down,
yep.
we just wanna go further up towards the track?
Come out more towards the tracks.
I
Do
don't-
another section, do
I don't have a problem with that.
a
at
little
all.
section.
Well, you need to get some prices.
Right.
Yep, so
See what
go back to the same
works
guy
in the
that did it.
budget.
I think I might have something a little bit more price friendly. They're gonna get me the price this coming week.
We need 2 or 3.
We need just three prices.
Yeah.
Get the one that did the last one,
Yep,
because
yeah, could you pull out
he
that
was
invoice?
substantially
Thank
lower.
you.
Yeah, he was, so go to the last one.
Okay, what, yeah, I'll get
As
it.
that
one,
Magoon?
as one, Magoon,
Yep.
3.
I know we'll go.
As one, we need 3. And then whatever one you get,
Yep,
okay?
Well,
I-
the more the merrier.
yeah, we'll get, I get
Blue
a lot.
Sky's another one.
You should get a dozen.
I have,
There was quite a few that came out and looked at the job, but there were only a few that bid, remember?
Yeah.
A $30,000 spread too.
Oh, yeah,
it's a big job.
Spread.
huge spread.
Well, and that's the thing, if you can get somebody by the hour to do the same, and that's what I had a talk with somebody that I know very well that are very good with trees. And they gave me a price, rough estimate price with a 70-foot bucket truck, the chipper, and 3 guys to go with it. That was very, very competitive and can do a lot of trees in a short amount of time. So I just want to make sure I have their number in front of me before I say, hey, this is what.
Is that environmental friendly if it all goes into the chipper?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. I
The,
just-
the wood came
I'm
from, it
asking
came from the
for
woods.
There's no
I have no
bodies in
idea.
there.
Yeah,
Will they take the chips with them?
I'll take the chips right to the shop.
Okay.
I'll take it, they can dump as many chips as they want over there. That's free fill.
I was gonna say, where's our biomass?
Okay.
Get some prices.
Yep.
So, shall we discuss the sand issue with you on Andrews Road?
Cool.
And also the budget, the salt budget.
Let's do the budget first. Let's get that right out of the way, right off the bat.
No, I was supposed to get it down the way, but
Wow,
we'll discuss
right,
it.
yeah, right. Well,
Where are you at?
right now, I'm in the 40 range right now. That's why when I put that number on there, it's not
So,
it's not the lack of effort, I can tell you that.
no, I mean, so really what needs to take place is you need to figure out by town meeting how much more you need to put in that sand salt budget.
Right.
And then on the floor, we'll have to make a motion to increase
Right.
this as well.
And to be honest with you, I don't think the motion to increase, it shouldn't be, I mean, we've had some bad weather. And they just said on the news today, we might get another nor'easter on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's what I said, it is
Well,
what it
the
is.
almanacs that are
Get
working
it
out
over
one
with.
until
It seems like
April.
every election day, we might as well have a blizzard.
Now, I only have one concern. My concern is that we target one small portion of the groundwater protection zone in the town of Tilton. There's no salt, and the rest of it, we salt like crazy. I think we need to start looking at going to low salt townwide, because we're not doing the environment any good.
I'm in agreement with Peter on that one, because there are some areas that we could use less salt and get away with it. But then again, on your hills and your real tough roads that are very, the state roads that are, really suck, you need to salt them, and I get
The
that.
problem
But I
with
think
that-
overall, could we get away with a little more, less salt,
The
more sand?
problem is you need something to break the bond from the road. If you've got, if it's cold out, or even if it's not, something needs to break the bond between the road and the snow.
Mhm.
And that's what the salt does. The sand is abrasive.
But do we need
But
to
we
use,
go,
do we
when,
need to use a lot of salt? The amount that we use,
You're
that's,
gonna find, we don't use as much salt as a lot of people. We really, what we're using for salt, right now I think I'm at 700 tons of salt. Like I said, I looked around at towns that have the same mileage of roads that we have, and that's why I did put Sunapee on there. I spoke with the director in Sunapee, and he's like, I buy 1,000 tons of salt a year. We have 37 miles of road, which is what we have, that we maintain in the winter. And they have a low, that's why I went with them, they have a low salt area because of the lake, Lake Sunapee. And when I talked to him, he said, I'm 25% above that right now.
Are you including the class twos?
And you're at 700?
And I'm at
I
700.
thought we were 40 something.
37 miles of lost.
Are you including the class twos?
so if you, I'm thinking of the tree streets where it's less of a volume back and forth, whereas like Winter Street, Clark Street, pair of, all of those big heavy roads and things like that could use a little bit more, but I've walked amongst the tree streets and you see piles of salt still after a storm. You literally see piles that has not melted into the ground.
Or it's a lot of corners and hills.
Right, but in the same aspect is if you stop using salt, you guys are gonna be getting more phone calls, because these people wanna see the roads black when they're done.
Yeah.
I live all winter with
Yeah, but
snowpack.
and but you're, you do, but this,
We can make it work. I just,
I'm okay with using less salt if you guys are okay with the repercussion from it.
well, you let the
Just
salt do it over time.
Is
I
there
don't want it-
somewhere in between a balance or no?
We don't need it bare pavement 30 seconds after the salt hits the ground. If you hit it down the middle, let it slowly work.
Well, that,
John,
we're only putting,
John wants to.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I think over the summer, they always have some classes on the salt, see if there's any, maybe a couple of guys go up there, and get some
And-
suggestions, see if anybody's come up with
Yeah,
anything
they have a
new.
salt symposium, and they have the New Hampshire Green Road. But the thing is the salt symposium is all about salt. They're not talking about, they want to, if you talk to that stuff, they want to do away with sand altogether. So you're at a catch-22 there. You're going.
We do have some classes on it.
You do, and we're not running salt out creams.
No,
We're running salt out between 250 and 300 pounds per lane volume, which is the norm. It's not, we're not overkilling it by any
no,
means.
but we're suggesting that we go under the norm.
Yeah. Is it we're asking you, is it a possibility to go under the norm?
I think you cut back on the safety of the roads by cutting back on the salt.
Which the no-salt roads have all winter.
They have all
Right.
winter,
We
you're
don't
right.
have, we don't have an ice rake to break up the
So-
snowpack on the,
You're right.
those roads,
If
so
we
it's-
have-
they get nothing.
If we have some roads where we're using no salt, then are you saying that those people that live on those roads have a more hazardous road to drive?
Absolutely.
I think they're a little more knowledgeable about it.
But they're a little, like
said,
Peter said, they're a little more,
He knows to watch for it.
right.
Yes,
Other
we're
people-
secondhand citizens.
Actually,
Basically,
your
You're skilled
road,
drivers.
I was sitting here thinking the roads that we don't use salt on don't have hills, they're flat.
Yeah, every one of them fly.
Yeah, you're right, because I couldn't see Prospect using no,
Caleb Hill, try doing no salt on Caleb Hill sometime.
No, geez,
You're
it's
not
hard
gonna-
enough to drive Caleb Hill when it's dry asphalt.
I'd get hit with all the bus drivers on that one.
Right, and we are using more salt because of the conditions of the road. And it's not Tilton's roads that are
I agree with
it's
that.
not. When you try to plow it, if you can scrape the snow off the road,
Mhm.
you use less material. But when there's holes and ridges and the plow's going like this, the plow's not scraping that off there, but you gotta get it off. So you're using more material to loosen it up to get it off the road.
Okay.
Now, when you have a flat road, which it seems that DOT always goes, well, this road sucks, and this road sucks, and this road sucks, so we're gonna give that to town, and we'll plow the flat ones.
Alright, so you're gonna get a price too, Gail, on what we need to add to the budget?
Yes. At where I put it right now, I just wanna get a final thing where I am, and then, the problem is it's hard, because if we get another if we get another one, it's 3 nor'easters this month.
Well, then I guess,
So,
I would guesstimate high, because it is salt, it is necessary.
Yeah.
We don't wanna be caught without
yeah,
our roads treated.
But along with the
And,
salt comes the
we have to have it
but
before
between-
next Saturday.
Right, between you and Tim, you can come up with a number. Next Saturday on the floor, we'll amend it and we'll go from there. We usually have a very short meeting, 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the town meeting on Saturday, and this is where we're at. And you can, tell us where that's at that point, and then just go on from there.
Okay.
All right?
I don't, it's not that we're overusing it, it's just, it's coming so fast, it's one right after another.
I definitely.
So-
It's-
The sand on this residence's property.
But before we get to that, can I just, one more thing as to where Peter's at? I think, what if this summer we go around and actually look around and see if there's some places where we can cut back on the salt use? In some of the different areas, you know what I mean, to make,
irregardless of the groundwater protection district. I find that ironic. Just saying.
Well, Route 3 drives right through.
I
the biggest
understand
part of
it.
So,
well, that's the thing.
Why don't
with
you
the-
do that? Why
With the
don't
salt,
you-
the salt's running right down over.
why don't you
I'm not
do
gonna point to
that?
others' bad behavior to go
As
from
public
mine.
works
Right.
director, why don't you do that? Look
Okay.
at the
Yes.
town, come back to us well before fall.
And see if we
With
can
a
find an area.
suggestion.
I just taking salt away from the big Lancaster Caleb, and it's not gonna do us any good up there. We need it.
You're the road guy. Okay, one more time. The resident, has everybody seen the email and, on the resident on Andrews Road, who has sent us pictures and is concerned that we are using, I don't know if he's concerned that we're using too much sand, I think he probably is. I do know in years past, and I'm looking at a picture now, that you could actually shovel the sand off his yard. I was up there last week, I went up during the storm, and I went by this morning and I did not see what I thought was an overuse of sand in that area this storm, or the last. So, this has come up. I can remember back as far as 2014, I believe, at least. I'd like to see if we can find a resolution to this that will satisfy our keeping the roads safe to pass and the resident, I don't want to say happy, but at least satisfied that we're not deliberately oversanding in his area and we're doing all that we can. You know.
Without losing the safety
Right,
of the,
so anybody have any ideas?
You don't hear mine.
I'd like to.
Sand, salt mix.
I
You
don't
start
think-
breaking it up, you need less sand.
I like-
You run it down the middle.
I like
Can
your
we
idea.
just do that on Andrews though, or no?
Let me say this about sand salt. Salt kills pine trees. If you look, there's water line right along the street. It's all pine trees, pine rust.
But there's a certain amount of that border line that it's on our property, so we also have to consider that too. Before we do that, can we invite him in and let him know we'll, you know, and talk with him and,
I'd like to have at least some kind of
Plan.
path to follow. I mean, the problem, my problem, just me, is that we've been discussing this for 4 years. And every time we think we have a resolution, and if it were my property, if it were me, I know that I would be extremely, I'm gonna go to angry, not just frustrated. I'd be fed up. I'd be like, okay, they're ignoring me.
Right.
So, having said that, I'd kind of like us to have some kind of plan. I do want us to communicate with him. I want us to all be together, whether it's on his property or here.
Right. Where I'm at with it is we're not, it's not like we're setting over 3/4 of a truck width and pushing it over onto his pine trees. When that stuff gets pushed back, it rolls up onto a mound. And then when the snow melts, the sand drops there. It's not like we're just pushing sand on the edge of the road for him for something to do.
When we sand those roads, when we're saying those roads, to me, they're smaller than the average, you know.
The sand in once a storm.
Do you go down to the middle of the road and sand it, or do you sand the right side and the left
No,
side?
you plow the road and then you sand it.
Okay, but do you plow the road? Because the end of the road is very short ways down. Do you plow it and then come back and sand the whole
With the pickup,
middle?
yes, with the,
Or do you plow and you're standing as you're going along the right-hand side, and then when you turn around, you come back and you plow on the left-hand
with the
side?
pickup sander, you plow and sand that one, then you plow the other lane. With the big
So you
truck,
plow both lanes?
yes, yeah, well, yeah, we always plow both lanes. We sand them, we sand both lanes with.
Well, some sanders, and I know I've seen it,
Right,
they are
The big
wide
truck?
enough to take care of
right.
the traveled way, if you will.
The big truck, that's, the big truck,
One pass.
one pass.
Okay.
But the big truck isn't what we're plowing it with. The big truck's only down there if the bags get so high and out that we need to push them back.
Okay.
That's, that, or if it's an ice storm and you need to have something on it so people
Okay.
aren't sliding all over the place. Then you need the sand down. And that could and that's probably half the reason that he's got more salt this year, more sand this year, is because of all the ice we've had.
Okay.
You
Do
can't
you
just,
have a resolution to this going forward?
I'm with Peter on the sand salt mix. Just a light mix, it doesn't have to be heavy, all it's gonna be something to break the bond, and it lessens the use of the sand.
Okay.
Even if it's only on that road, even if it's only on Mansville into Andrews, that's,
but
My
you,
understanding from his emails is that the sand we put on the road later on gets plowed into his yard
course it
when we're
does.
winging the
It does with
bank around.
everybody's
So
lawn.
even if we put salt in with the sand, we're still gonna wing
sand,
sand into his yard.
you're never gonna completely do away with the sand in his yard unless you completely do away with the sand.
but you also have the issue, if you salt it and then sand it, some of that salt doesn't get, if you would, melted, and it gets plowed over to the side. We have that issue over the years on Maple Court. And you have almost, maybe, we don't have the issue like he does, but like a foot of the whole side of Maple Court is kinda, the grass is dead from salt.
That's straight salt.
Yeah,
No,
that's.
what happens
Sand
is,
is salt.
And the salt
Is he
is,
gonna complain about that?
The
That's what I'm
salt
just saying, you know what I'm
doesn't-
saying?
It will kill pine trees.
Good.
it,
And then it's,
it's gonna take a long, long time.
it really doesn't, because when you see the plows coming down 93, granted they're going a lot faster. But when they're plowing, and it's not all the time, but when we're having a situation, especially in the spring, when it starts to melt, what comes off that wing is slush.
Right.
And
Catherine,
it sprays.
We're not
in
plowing.
order to plow there, he's making a right-hand turn from Crystal after a complete stop. He has no speed
There's
coming
no
around.
momentum coming around there.
So he comes down
He goes
Crystal,
down
You
Crystal,
go down
turns
Mansfield,
around,
down
comes up,
Crystal, turn around, come
takes a
out
right-hand
of
turn.
Crystal, turn down Andrews.
You plow slush slowly onto his pine trees, it's gonna kill him.
Right.
But
I don't think we're gonna come to a conclusion right now, can we
You
talk
know,
about it?
I live on Main Street on a hill where they put a lot of sand down. What do? I put landscaping cloth down every year along the front, with the little stakes.
And you do what everybody else does, and you clean it up in the spring.
And in the spring, I clean up, I dump it at the curb, and the stake will pick it up for me.
And I have picked up his. I said, you get it out to the road and we will come pick it up. That's,
Dennis used to do
but if
that.
if I go over there and rake his lawn, which I'm not gonna do, then I'm gonna have to go across the street and rake Joe's lawn, and then I'm gonna have to rake Pete's lawn and Jim's lawn and Steve's lawn all the way down through there. We're gonna spend the summer raking lawns.
all right. In the interest of moving forward with tonight's meeting, let's,
I think, my personal opinion is with Peter, we can mix salt light enough in there where it's not gonna be a giant environmental impact and it's going to save.
salt is an environmental impact.
But.
What do we have on next week?
Let's,
Nothing, it's the Thursday before town meeting.
let's move on, we don't have to discuss it too much further tonight. We can, at the end of the meeting, maybe talk about whether we want to locate the boundaries of what the town
Yeah,
owns.
that's not a bad idea.
That might be a next step,
That's not a bad idea at all.
all right?
Then we know where we stand as far as whether we.
This is
even
our
have to do
land, this
anything.
is your land,
Right,
all right. Another song,
it is.
Yes.
Didn't we sing that earlier?
okay. All right. Anything else for us? Anybody, selectmen, have any more questions for?
Yeah, what's the lights going on that guy?
John, it's nothing to do with us.
There's something in the
You
FYI.
got
from
FYI.
It's a shot.
It's a short, either in the ground.
That turns the lights on?
No, the timers are fine.
It's a
It's
short
it's
breaker.
tripping the breaker. When it rains and gets moisture in the ground, it trips the breaker.
Yeah, but the problem is that the light's on during the day.
Which trips the timer.
Which it trips the timers. JP was over there and he said the same thing. He's like, everything was working the way it's supposed to.
We hired
But there's a,
Yes, we did.
but there's
Turn
a,
it up.
he said there's a
The other
short
day.
in either the, what exactly did it say?
It's in the
Bad ground
FYI folder,
Yeah,
Pat.
there's, and they changed the breakers and it wasn't a breaker. He said it's either in the ground or in the lights themselves, in the light posts themselves. But he said he's gonna have to go back there and pinpoint where it's
If
at.
the breaker goes, why would the lights be on during the day?
That's a good question.
The
I
light,
mean, the breaker turns the
If
power
the
off.
breaker's tripped,
Why would it turn them on during the day?
that I don't know.
I
Yeah, but
think
you can have a break in a ground and have
And
power
it works
on and off.
sometimes and
Right.
works.
if it trips the breaker is
You,
off.
you can't reset the breaker without manually doing it.
Right.
If somebody does it.
If
they
it
can-
trips the breaker, the
Well, no,
power's
we've
off.
tripped the breaker. We've
Is
been
there
over
another
there.
copy of that key?
What's that?
Key to that?
Everybody should have
It
a
was
key.
changed when Carter.
We have them downstairs, John.
Padlock.
Yeah, I gave keys to the,
And that's,
yeah,
okay. No, I'm,
Just see what it says. Okay, that's
Right.
interesting. Are you good? For now? Okay.
F-550.
Yep.
So it'll be ready for the next,
We should be, and we
season?
should have it by, next October.
can we trade it in for a new mod?
That's what I called them the other day and I was like, it's gonna be out of warranty by the time we get it.
Yeah.
But then we went down and checked on it, and there's still trucks sitting in the yard with like 5/17/2017. So, it just, the numbers, when I call, they give me a different date, and then I call on that date, and they're like, oh no, it's gonna be this date. But the problem is you're gonna wait now for anybody. We're kinda at the mercy of them.
Yeah, but we won't be giving business to somebody that might
Absolutely not.
screw us over. That's why I'd
Absolutely
say
not.
take it out, even if we gotta wait longer. Get
Absolutely
away
not.
from it.
I've done away with, I don't buy our Fisher plow packs from them anymore, I buy it from another place.
Sit down again.
I buy them in Alton,
Alton Motorsports.
and they're cheaper.
All right,
So, but yes, I call them once a week.
Tell them we may need it back for their spring and summer maintenance. We're gonna use the dump body at least.
Yeah.
that's crazy, okay.
It's been since October 17th. It's
How
been
you
sitting
saying
in their
business?
yard.
And who did we buy it from?
Grapponi. But they had it,
It's not Grapponi.
no, it's not Grapponi's fault, they had
No,
it
no,
done.
is Grapponi the warranty by mileage or time?
Both, it's either
Maybe
3 years
Grapponi
or-
3 years or 36.
Maybe Grapponi will
1,000
extend
whatever.
it, because we've already got them up, that's almost 6 months.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
not through, it's through Ford Motor
Yeah,
Company,
it's
not
through
that.
Ford.
Yeah, but Grapponi could be the spokesman.
Yeah, if you want, if you want to extend the warranty, you go to Grapponi and you say, I want to extend the warranty for whatever fee it is, but
Yeah, they'll-
Can we put
they'll
the
allow
pressure
you-
on the pony
not really.
to get the pressure on Fairfield?
No.
No, Grapponi's done they,
Yeah,
Grapponi did their job.
Who recommended Fairview?
they do everyone.
They're the only, besides Donovan, and then Donovan's the same way.
There's a couple other.
There's one up in Burlington, Vermont that,
You'd have to go to Maine or Massachusetts.
Tell them next time we'll go to Burlington, I'll take the drive.
yeah, well, you're gonna have to stay up there for a month while they
That's
do it.
fine. I have relatives up there.
But yeah,
Next
no,
door.
it's,
Now, what is specifically what's being done?
they're putting the pump, because I said, can we go pick this stuff up? And my mechanic will put it on, we'll be done in
Sure,
3 days. And they were like, yeah, you can, but then all the stuff that you do with that pump, you lose a $4,000 pump, we're not gonna cover it. We're not gonna cover this, we're not gonna cover
Oh,
that.
who would cover it?
Fairfields. So if,
No, we don't want your pump.
yeah, well, you gotta have the pump's what makes everything work.
I know, but just get the truck chassis out of there.
We've already got the,
We're paying for it.
yeah, we've got the body, they put the rear body on, the plow, the wing, the pumps, the sander, it's all through them.
They've already put it on?
No, it's,
No, when
no,
you
it's
buy
all
the
sitting
truck
there.
package, you buy, because that's what Dawson's does, you buy a truck without any.
Yeah, you can get the
You
chassis.
buy the cab chassis,
And
right.
then you get what you want, yeah.
Right, and then you order what you want through the other
Yeah.
stuff. And they put together the package, and then the package gets put on the truck.
I get out of it, buy it from somebody else.
Yeah, but then you're going back on the waiting list again, and you won't get it till next year.
Sure, well, they lied to us and they're ripping us off. Why would we do business with them?
Well, we won't do business with them again, I can tell you
Why
that.
would we get out of this one?
I was gonna say, I'd take it to
Keep the
North
chassis out of there.
Carolina. I just, yeah.
I completely understand where you're coming from, but it's so close to being there now that if we don't just stay where we're at for now, we're just starting back at the beginning of the line again, somewhere else.
Okay. Anybody anymore?
Nope. Ready to move on?
Go get some sleep, Rocky.
We got 10 minutes. We gotta have a schedule.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
It's 5:15,
5:15 PD.
right.
We're not.
It's
It's
5:35.
It's
5:35.
5:35, I'm sorry.
We're behind 25 minutes, 20 minutes.
All right, but we're good, right? Anybody has some more questions?
No,
Thank you, Brock. Thank you.
thanks, Mark.
Rocky, you
Appreciate
should
it.
get a turn sign when you go down.
Yep.
I do too, if we could do it.
The non-public side?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are we going straight into non-pub? Did you ask Robert to shut the door?
Yes.
Does he have a key to lock the door?
No,
It
we
doesn't get locked, it just gets shut.
just shut
Turn
with
my
the note,
sign.
with the note.
Oh, with the sign?
Yep.
All right. Gentlemen,
Somebody open it?
Motion to go into non-public for RSA 91A, colon 3, personnel.
Second.
roll call vote, please.
Todd, yes.
Constantino, yes.
Dawson, yes?
Scanlon, yes.
Just like-
We are red, red is on.
It's missing Ashley's.
Oh, yes, they are missing, Ashley.
I need that one.
So if we could, after you do this, make sure I get those back so we can get them signed properly.
Which, I don't even know what's in that.
I just thought we could get Bryce signing this tonight.
I don't want him to get lost. That's why I gave it to Joyce.
You need to swear me.
Is that
Who's
Brian's?
the-
You want to see all this now? Why are you doing this to accommodate you?
For now, can we keep this one inside here?
Yeah, like a green
I gotta
one.
get him signed this part. Just keep them together. You gonna do them first, or you gonna do the other? You're gonna keep them.
You telling him?
Oh.
Tell him, just call him.
Oh,
He won't go down. He won't go down.
Peter, please. Thank you.
oh.
My trash off the table.
Make a motion that we seal the minutes of the non-public as they pertain to personnel permanently.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 That's fine.
My phone is dead. Are you gonna take pictures? Okay, or if you give me your camera. Don't come in that blue.
We have Winnie here.
I would never, he's made a great undercover guy.
I put it in the ball.
I know. You know, I was saying good things about it. Then I thought about that was your mom. Good talking about it. Great. That's how great you guys are. Good thing I was saying that.
We would have called you out if it
Is he coming up?
She's right.
Yeah, because he usually she keeps track. Good. Yeah, she doesn't.
How much did you?
Oh, yeah, they don't have it. I'm sorry.
You did? 300? I want you to know I did not give you.
The baby's got a police uniform.
No.
I don't make this stuff up.
I got her a onesie and she was born that.
Well, yeah, you call it on fire.
Yeah, very close to the, by the
He didn't even recognize you when you did this. Pleasure. Yes.
It's really funny because I feel like I told him one day he was really confused, and I guess Carla gave like a ton of them. And I'm like, I told you to save me at least one. Usually I'll send them away, like if I eat like one or two of them, like get them out of the house because I don't want them, and I don't want them. And they're like, what? He goes, Carla, and I'm like, well, you better. I go, you have to make sure.
Look at you. What badge you got?
Yeah, Billy.
John, John.
Come on, Betsy.
Chief, you want to pull the flags down?
Why move the chairs?
All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your patience this evening, but it's obviously, it's a pretty exciting moment for us. It's something that we've been working on for a long time, and we have a couple of great things going on tonight. First of all, we're swearing in a new police officer, Jonathan Marshall, and welcome into the department. So Jonathan has been trying to get on the police department for at least 2 years, I would say, at least that, probably more than that. He's been calling, he's been doing ride-alongs, he's wanted to work here more than anybody, and his persistence paid off. He just kept waiting, and every time we would hire someone, he'd say, well, maybe I'll get the next spot. And so Jonathan, just a little bit about him, he went to high school here at Hopkinton and also Concord High Schools. Then he went into the military and served our country, spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. When he got out, he took a job with the New Hampshire State Prison, and he's been there for, what, about 2 years? Almost 4 years. And he scored extremely well in the process. The board recommended him as the #1 pick for hire when we were screening new applicants for a police officer position. Everyone at the police department really thinks the world of you, and we're happy and excited to bring you on the team, buddy. And so what we're going to do right now is begin the swearing-in process. Selectman Peter Fogg is going to help you with that, and then after we'll have a badge pinning ceremony.
Jonathan M. Marshall, to the inhabitants of the town of Tilton, in the county of Belknap, and the state of New Hampshire. Whereas there is a vacancy in the position of full-time patrol officer in the town of Tilton, and whereas we, the subscribers, have confidence in your ability and integrity to perform the duties of said office, do hereby appoint you, Jonathan M. Marshall, to the position of full-time patrol officer for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire, which shall be effective as of March 5th, 2018. And whereas upon your taking the oath of office and having this appointment and certificate of said oath of office recorded by the town clerk, you shall have the powers, perform the duties, and be subject to the liability of such office until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead. Given under our hands this 8th day of March in the year of our Lord, 2018. Raise your right hand. I, Jonathan M. Marshall,
I, Jonathan M. Marshall,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
upon all the duties incumbent upon me
as a full-time patrol officer for the town of Tilton,
as a full-time patrol officer of the town of Tilton,
New Hampshire, according to the best of my abilities,
New Hampshire, to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations
agreeable to the rules and regulations
of the United States Constitution
of the United States Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And if I could bring up Jonathan's mom, Linda Marshall, please.
And at some point, the baby in the little...
She's sleeping.
She can come up too.
Do you want to bring her up? Oh, okay.
So here you go.
Future police officer.
Future explorers. Oh, baby. Yeah, this will be a great picture to have on your desk. Nice. This is what's all the fuss about.
She's such a good baby.
She's staring at you or something.
You're next.
Can I get the members of the PD up here behind?
Let me get the back.
Elizabeth, which button do I push? The red one?
No, what?
Which button do I push?
Get closer.
Except you're short.
What a group.
What a good-looking group.
I should say so.
I was doing it slow as my camera cover on.
Good boy. Boy.
Someone say, I think someone said that we should do calendars. Whatever would help you.
In the middle. You're the rose with a bunch of thorns. Just keep moving your eyes back and forth.
Look at Matt. He's an easy guy. That it?
I'll say.
Oh, smiley over at the right. Okay. That's good.
Chris, nice beard. Almost as nice as Luke's. I don't know. It's got a little flecks of red in it.
He's got about 2 weeks on me. Yeah, he's got more character.
Yeah, now, were you here for last year's? No? Are you gonna do it?
I
Yes.
know, well,
Yeah,
you know,
when is
it's
it?
a weather thing.
It's this weekend.
This weekend? At what time?
Saturday, around
At noon. And it's up at Beach. What is your theme this year? Dressing up as anything? You don't know? Okay. You should tell Jonathan.
Here, you take pictures of this. Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Kelly, you can do it.
I can do it.
Okay, so we're not done. We still have some more excitement, just when you thought you can't get any more. So we've been working diligently, and I say we, probably Nathan, the captain, have been working diligently to help me with this process for probably easily a month now, maybe a couple months, to get this done. We had an opening for a patrol supervisor. We take that opening very serious. We did a selection process which involved bringing in command staff from police departments around the state, from as far in the south as Nashua, far north and as Littleton. We really put a lot of effort into our selection process, try to make it as fair as possible. It's never easy because I think we have a lot of talent in the PD, and I think all of the applicants are deserving of promotion. And it's hard to pick just one, because to me, they're all superstars, and they all work hard. And every day they come in, they roll up their sleeves. I don't have to tell them, they just go out and crush it every day. So it gets really hard when we have to make a promotion to pick one, because they're all so good and they all work so hard. But there's one candidate that in the last two selection processes somehow came out #1 twice. And I'm not surprised, because when we hired him back in 2012, he was one of our interns from Plymouth State. And I think everyone in the department came into my office, not knowing that someone else did, one at a time, to tell me to hire this intern from Plymouth State. And I don't know if you know that, but everyone in the department came in to me and said, "Chief, you've got to hire this kid from Plymouth State." And then in 2014, I saw something in him that I thought would be an incredible add to detectives. And he was new. He was a new officer. He was new to law enforcement. And he went in there, and I think he surprised everybody. He far exceeded everyone's expectations. And within a couple of years, he became a superstar in detectives, putting some incredibly hard cases together that got commendations from the U.S. Attorney's Office and from our department. And so when the captain told me that he came out #1 twice, I really wasn't surprised. But I'm extremely proud right now as his chief to be promoting him.
Elizabeth, I got you.
And so, right now we're going to begin the swearing-in process. Selectman Constantino, Pat has asked if she could be the person, Brian, to read your oath.
All right, Brian, Kid Keeler, to the inhabitants of the town of Tilton and the county of Belknap and the state of New Hampshire, whereas there's a vacancy in the position of full-time corporal in the town of Tilton, whereas we, the subscribers, have confidence in your ability and the integrity to perform the duties of said office, do hereby promote you, Brian Kid Keeler, to the position of full-time corporal for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire, which shall be effective as of March 8th, 2018. And whereas upon taking the oath of office and having this appointment and certificate of said oath of office recorded by the Tilton Town Clerk, you shall have the powers, perform the duties, and be subject to the liability of such office until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead. Given under the hands of the 8th day of March in the year of our Lord 2018, the Board of Selectmen. So if you repeat after me, raise your right hand. I, Brian Kid Keeler,
I, Brian Kid Keeler,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully
I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties incumbent on me
and perform all the duties incumbent on me
as a full-time corporal for the town of Tilton,
as a full-time corporal for the town of Tilton,
New Hampshire, according to the best of my abilities,
New Hampshire, according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the United States Constitution
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the United States Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
It's my honor.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Now, if I,
Yes.
Irma, if you can come, please. stay in front of you. And then if I can get everyone from the PD to please come
Use
up.
my phone to take a picture.
Yes, you, Brian, you've got to do it.
Say something.
Great.
Good job, you guys. Congrats. Gracias. De nada. Pat, do we want to take these? We have one of these?
Good.
Yeah, 9 to 5. No, 9 to 7. Monday, Tuesday.
No, I got jeans on.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Catherine, do you want to take a recess?
I'm going to look at it and check to make sure I close the door.
Watch
Red is on.
prolonged.
You're on, Joyce. All right, it's, Chief of Non-Public.
Good night.
Okay, I went back.
We're not in yet, Joyce.
Not in public, motion to go to non-public as per RSA 91A, section C matters which are discussed in public will likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the body or agency itself.
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Constantino, yes.
Yes, and yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We are red. Red is on.
Motion to seal minutes of the non-public section as it pertains to section C of 91A permanently.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, town administrator.
Okay, last week I gave you a copy of a draft of a hiring procedure,
Yes.
and just, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but I broke it down into, excuse me, 5 sections for the process, the search process. The reason why I have that list is because as a municipal government, we get state and federal grants. Most state grants we get are federal, and we have to send certifications and give them copies of our audits and everything. And we sign certifications, those things that you sign that, you'll give your firstborn child to the government. We're saying, yeah, we're an equal opportunity employer, we're ADA compliant, we're section 504, we're all these, we follow all the rules and regulations, especially when it comes to hiring and disciplining and terminating employees. So at any time, we could get audited and they would want to come see our search records. So every search that my office has done, we keep all of the applications, the process, who applied, so if we're audited, we can be checked. Now, the police department, they keep all theirs too, but they do their own search. So what I'd like to implement, where I put all departments, is that when they do advertise, that they do follow this procedure. Now, I know they do theirs a little differently, that they'll once a year, they'll do a pool, and try and get a batch of candidates. That's fine, but they should at least let us know that they're doing this and giving some documentation of that. Okay. Chief says okay. Is that okay, Chief?
Yeah, I'm good with it too. I read it. It looks good.
Okay, then the application procedure, the admin and highway, we can continue to do it administration, but the police department, they have their own form that's required by police standards and training,
Training, right.
so we can't. I mean, we could still have them fill out one of ours, but they have to do the police standards and training. And then there's the screening, interviewing, and hiring process. So I broke that down between administration and highway, and the police department only, because they have additional requirements that they have to comply with through the administrative rules through New Hampshire Police Standards and Training Council. And I attached their rules to this, so that much of the things that we cover in our background checks, I mean, we don't go anywhere near in depth as they do. Yes, sorry. I'm so allergic to this building, it's crazy. In the administration and highway department section, screening, interviewing, hiring process, down where it says, refine the list to a minimum of 3 candidates for further consideration to be presented to Board of Selectmen with the department head's recommendation. And then it goes right to the selectmen interview the department head's recommendation. There isn't a process to get to the recommendation. Do you see what I'm saying? We get a list of the 3 candidates. And one of those is the department head's recommendation. And there's an assumption there that we're automatically going to take that recommendation. No, you don't have to. Right, but it doesn't indicate that in here. It indicates that we are going to. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so if the selectmen accept the department head's recommendation,
We go to this step. If not, we go to this step.
Well, in the past, we've actually interviewed
Mm-hmm.
more than just the recommendation.
Just like the top 2.
okay, so do you want department heads to interview employees, potential candidates?
Weed them out.
So I like, and this is just me, please everybody chime in. 3 candidates for further consideration to be presented to the Board of Selectmen with the department head's recommendation. In other words, here's my 3,
Yep.
A, B, and C. I like B.
Yep.
But we interview A,
Then
B,
how
and
do-
C.
So you want to interview all the candidates?
I want an option in there, like the selectmen reserve the right to interview the 3 candidates or something. I don't know. What do you think, John and Peter?
No, I agree. We could waive it, but
You know, we may not want to. We may look at the
But
3
we may
candidates and
decide
see, oh yeah, okay, I see why you like this guy. Or we may say, well, you know.
But what if they had 12 applicants? We don't want to end up with 12 applicants. We want him to kind of weed through and just do the top 3, and then the top 3.
That's
we
why
would-
I said,
Yeah.
I like the top
Right.
part where it says refine the list to a minimum of 3. My
Yeah.
problem is that jumps right to,
Mhm.
we're recommending his selection
Right. So,
without any review of the 3 or why
I like what you're saying.
we're going to that recommendation.
Mhm.
Okay, so the
Another way to word
selectmen,
it?
I just said, the selectmen reserve the right to interview the 3 candidates.
Mhm.
The candidates, because it says minimum of 3.
Right. The candidates, right.
What do you
We
think?
can
Well,
list a number, but there's times you may want a 4th one, so I don't know if you want to be that
Yeah,
specific.
I'll leave out the 3.
Public
the
works.
candidates.
why are we
like
limiting it to
4,
3?
couple
See,
times.
can't we just put any candidates
Any and all
or any
candidates?
applicants?
Any and all candidates?
Yeah.
You want to interview all the
Any?
candidates.
we reserve the right to,
Any and
not
all.
necessarily to do it.
Because if somebody didn't make the top 3 and we find out that maybe this person really is better and perhaps this
So
bad
if you,
recommendation, we could pull them in.
if you end up with a situation as we did in the past where you knocked 2 or 3 off by background, then you're forced kind of go to the 4th and 5th. So
Or
hopefully
redo.
that never happens again, and we've learned from it, but, you know, we just want to avoid it.
Right, but the screening that the department head is doing
Mhm.
is not the full background check, the criminal, the motor vehicle and all that. They're just screening them, you know, to make, because the next step to the selectmen is to offer a conditional so we can do all of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So the selectmen reserve the right to interview any and all candidates. So, so what do you want the department head to do then? Because the department head is going to interview all the candidates. He's gonna screen them. He'll come to you and he or she will come to you and say, okay, 15 people applied. Of these 15, these are the 5 or the 3 or whatever that I'd like to go to the next, take to the next step of the
Right.
review.
Right.
So at that point, you want them to come to the board. The board will schedule the interviews.
He'd say, here's the top 3 candidates, and this is the one I recommend.
Yeah.
And then we would interview, you know, that one. If by chance we have some reservations about it, we then, at that point, would exercise our right to interview others
Okay.
in that
Because it
list.
says here specifically, for further consideration to be presented to the Board of Selectmen,
Right,
with the department head's recommendation.
yeah.
Okay.
So.
It
at
may or
that
may
point-
not come true.
Right,
Right.
depending upon the position and the number of candidates, though, you still, I think the department head still needs to come and say, these are all, you know, you have a right to look at
Right, and
everybody
that's what it
that's
says he'll
applied.
do. That's what it says.
But he's
he'll do.
gonna do the screening and say, okay, I think these 3 make the top tier,
Mhm.
and
Right.
you can look at it and say, yeah.
This
You
is
know,
so-
I
those
think we're
guys
saying
want
the
this
same thing,
one,
Joyce,
okay.
yeah.
This is so there's no surprises. That's what
Right.
this is, we're creating, is so there's no surprises, that they know there can be delay, that they
We're
know
trying to
that
find the right
their
language.
recommendation may be thrown out.
We're on the same page, I think we're just trying to find the right language to put it in there.
Okay. So, then it says, the selectmen interview, if the selectmen accept the department head's recommendation, say that,
Mhm.
because at some point, I mean, you wanna have the department head and the selectmen be in agree, I mean, that's the goal, because
I think you
if that
can-
isn't what
I
happened.
think you can just leave it as it is, because what we've just added is
Yeah.
to let them know this could take place.
Okay.
But if it doesn't, we're gonna move through this, like this.
Right.
Because that makes
You
it,
want to have that net ready.
Yeah.
Right.
okay. So at that point, it's still, and only the selectmen can sign the conditional offer of
Mhm.
employment, right, for admin and highway. And then the department head and/or the town administrator conduct the background check. The selectman's office arranges for the pre-employment physical and alcohol drug screening, CDL.
Back one?
Yep.
It says, department head's recommendation, make a conditional offer of employment based on satisfactory completion of the background check and physical.
Yep.
Completion, so they don't have to pass it, they just have to do it. It should be satisfactorily accepting or something like that. Because if our policy is that you just have to complete it,
Okay,
you know, I'm getting not with that satisfactory review and acceptance.
Are we gonna go over this whole thing tonight? And my recommendation would be to, because Ashley has some really great input on this.
But I don't think we're gonna be done with this
oh
tonight.
yeah, I don't think are either, 'cause,
Yeah.
I mean, there's, well, then we can.
I think we can tweak it a little bit here and there.
Yeah, because I have some other
In a
things I want to.
definition of the background.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
On it, though, on page 3?
It's 16
Yes.
pages.
It says pre-employment physical exam pilot. Is that the same thing as a medical card? When you have a CDL, when you get a CDL, you have to have a medical card? Which you have to have.
You'll get, I think it's part of the physical.
Yeah.
The medical card covers between 10,000 and 26,000, which is non-CDL.
No?
Yeah,
Mhm.
anything over 10,000, you need a medical card.
Dawson's Concrete has to have medical cards, but they don't all need to have CDLs, because we only have one truck with a CDL, but more of
Okay,
them
I
drive
don't
the
see
others.
anything here that says medical card.
All right, so when is a medical card required?
Our newest employer.
CDL. CDL requires a medical card.
Anything over 10,000
GVW,
pounds GVW.
Yes. GDW
but that doesn't require a CDL.
Right. CDL kicks in at 26,000.
at 26,000, right?
Do you want medical physical for all employees?
You have to have a physical
Highway, we don't.
highway, it's drug test.
No physical? I mean, you have people doing strenuous work. I mean, even if I was to go and start jogging or doing physical work, my doctor would check to make sure I'm okay to do it.
For admin employees, we have never required a physical. For highway, it's mandatory.
Oh, okay. So highway, you need a physical.
Yep,
Okay.
and a drug test.
That's-
That's because they're considered safety services.
And they're doing
Yeah.
more physical lifting.
So in order to hold the CDL, you also have to carry with you a medical card that says you've had the exam, you've been drug tested, and that you're not on any particular certain medicines that would, or diabetic, or have a heart ailment. And you have to carry that in your wallet at all times.
And how long is that good for?
2 years, mine's only good for 1.5, I have to renew mine next because I have lupus. So if you have diabetes, or if you have a heart condition, it's only good for 1 year. So you have to go back and renew it every year, if you have those. Mine's only good for 1 year, only because the first year, but then it will be good for 2 years after that. As a safety, they did it. That's it. But I don't see that, I think that needs to, under copy of New Hampshire CDL license, right underneath that, maybe copy of medical card. I just noticed.
All right, we can, I have a question on the next page, and we can start, when we get to hiring process.
Under page 4?
2.
2, okay.
Based on the results of the OR board, the police chief signs a conditional offer of employment letter to obtain the required authorization to release information forms in order to conduct the background checks, including a polygraph.
Yep.
What kind of conditional offer of employment letter?
Do you have a copy of one?
We do,
Like,
yeah, so we,
So what does that say?
says we can go to their police department and get a copy of their file, you know, essentially start the background check, because if we background check a candidate and we go to a police department, they won't show us anything unless we have that conditional offer, so.
So you have to give them a conditional offer of employment, or just get their permission?
It's essentially their permission, and it expires, so it expires within,
Okay. So it's not a conditional offer of employment, it's
no,
their permission.
it's their permission to basically get their background information.
Okay,
But
so we
I've
can,
seen conditional offers of
Yeah,
there's
then,
some-
Yeah,
for us,
you
it's
want to start
permission
making
to do
offers.
their background.
well,
Permission to do background,
I agree.
okay?
That's all it is, yeah.
Just permission to do background checks.
The conditional offer of employment comes after they've passed the polygraph and you come to the Board of Selectmen, correct?
Exactly, yeah. This is just so that we can get that background information.
okay.
Right, and usually this is more than one candidate that they
Right.
get these releases from.
Well, that's why I
You could
was,
have like 2 or 3.
that's why I was
3
confused after going through this process.
Yeah, that's a good catch.
It's a lot of,
Signs
it's
authorization.
a lot of offers.
It's a lot of offers of
Signs,
employment.
authorizations.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
want it all.
release information.
Right.
So just strike it.
Okay. All right, thank you, Joyce, and
That's complete.
let's,
I'll review this over the weekend too.
keep
Right,
this
and also, it,
I didn't have a chance.
handy and,
the way Nate had explained it to me is
Should be a
that
little quicker than.
they
the-
change sometimes when they do the polygraph or the oral, or, you know, it's not always ching, ching, ching,
It
ching.
isn't, right? They might get into the poly and they might have to go and check on something.
Yeah, because the polygraph, they may not have a candidate signed for the polygraph until after you pretty, you know, you're closer to the end.
Right.
So not everybody gets an authorization for a polygraph.
No, if we're gonna go pull their files and look at their files, we need it. So they,
No, to conduct the,
the background, yeah. So like, they won't let us look at anything. Matter of fact, the academy requires us to give them a conditional to get anything they need. So like that list that you got from PSTC, we
Yeah.
can't get any of those things without that, so.
Without a conditional offer or just an authorization?
Authorization to get all of that, and that's all it
Authorization
is.
to get all
They
that.
expire usually within 30 days or 60 days, so it gives us a time frame to go and get that information.
Okay. Right, but when it comes time to do the I mean, he doesn't do polygraphs on 3 people, does he?
He could,
He could,
yeah, oh yeah.
because that's where you get the real information.
Yeah, they do the pre-poly, and sometimes people get washed in the pre-poly, which
Okay.
is just 100 questions leading into the polygraph.
Okay, so just because getting this authorization doesn't mean that everybody's gonna, the whole be weeded out.
Right, but you can get rid of conditional offer of
Yes.
employment and just put authorization to
Okay.
get information. So if you could make those few changes and then get it back to us, that would be great.
Okay,
And then we can,
finish the rest of it. Okay.
we'll keep going at it until we have a document. Anything else for us tonight, Joyce?
Yeah, just a couple of things. No, so, do you want me to respond to the right to know request? We received it Monday, so I would like to send him an email and just say that, that we received it. And, I mean, he's welcome to come in and look at anything that we have. We don't have to make him copies. We don't have to go create things. I know that we've saved what communications that myself and Gail have.
Which one?
I mean, really,
On
Andrews
what?
Road, that's all available. He's welcome to come in and
Oh.
see that.
No, yeah, most everything we have is his communications to us.
Yes.
I mean, I responded to him very, yes, we're gonna talk about this, and not gonna let it lie, but no grand discussion.
Okay, but I need to make sure that we document that we've responded to him.
Okay, so I would say yes, go, please do
And
it.
just say,
Well-
come on in, we'll show
Do
you
whatever
what
is
we have.
necessary.
Yeah, anything,
Okay,
you know.
We have nothing to hide.
okay. And Gail's made copies of what we have, so I'm just saying, here, this is what we have. Okay, and then, next Thursday, March 15th, the board has a selectmen's meeting, but there is a Belknap County Economic Development meeting at Lakes Region Community College from 4:30 to 7. So, do any of you want to go? And if you don't
I
go,
think Darren should go.
Larry, I haven't spoken to him since we last spoke, but he said he'd be happy to go, he just needed to check his calendar.
The thing was sent to me, and I really think that, I definitely can't go, and I think it's on Thursday night. I think it'd be great representation for the town.
Looks like it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm all for Darry going.
Yeah, and people want to know what Tilton's doing,
Yeah,
and it's good to,
and he
Yeah,
would
we're-
like to go too,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Okay, yeah, so please RSVP for him.
okay?
Plan before you develop.
Very nice.
Partnership for Public Health, remember they met with us? They're doing their 5-year community health plan survey, and they'd like to leave a box here, so people could take surveys and put their surveys in the box. I don't think that there'll be thousands, but just maybe we can put something on the website saying we have it, and if you want to stuff it in and fill it out.
Anybody object?
And
Yeah.
Cindy's fine with it, I checked with her.
Okay.
I told him I'd get back to him. May 16th is the New Hampshire Association of Assessors meeting. And since you are the assessors and we're a member of the association, they asked if they could do their meeting here at the Tilton Town Hall, because we're local, we're central.
How many?
And she said this year's about 25.
May 16th, what day is it?
It's a Wednesday night, and I checked with Johanna and Jane, and Jane said that the budget committee would be meeting. I'm thinking, why are they meeting in May?
Is that the second Wednesday?
16th would probably be the,
Yeah.
they meet the second Wednesday in the summer.
Why wouldn't they
I
meet
think it's
downstairs?
She said they could meet downstairs.
That would be the third.
It's the third Wednesday.
What about the fire department?
And Kathy Tobin, I checked with her, and she said it's fine.
Anybody object?
I thought the budget meets the second.
The budget can meet whenever they want, as often as they want. Depends on how much they want to
Why do
do.
they
But in
want to meet
May?
in May? I know, we haven't spent any money yet.
You're gonna stop you.
Well, you know, it depends.
Gonna go on the offense.
I mean, they could meet in May, they could,
They're gonna be proactive for a change, you know?
very
Oh, we
proactive.
spent up for, I think, July or August.
Yeah,
Yeah,
usually.
you know, depends on what they're doing, they can,
Yeah, new
If you
members.
read
Well,
it,
old
I
folks.
checked with them and they said, fine, they could be
if the space
downstairs.
is free, that's good.
They won't have a quorum.
They won't have a forum in May?
Change, if maybe,
Oh, I
change them.
heard. The island lights, you want him to go explore and follow, you know, take apart the box, follow the conduit, what do you wanna do?
So he's pretty certain this is short. John had an interesting question. If it's tripping the breaker, then why are the lights on? Because if you trip a breaker, the
You
electricity's
kill the
off.
power. We're talking about the lights being on, the timer not being set, so I think we have two different issues
Mm-hmm.
going on. Maybe that's why some of them weren't on at times. You know, at night, we noticed the lights weren't on a
Do
couple
you
times.
think it's the timer that is
No,
tripping?
the problem is that somebody needs to adjust the timer to match the time, and what time the bulbs come on and off. There's
Mhm.
little stoppers, and you do it. It's not rocket science, it's the most simplest thing you've
Well, I
done.
believe that that's what they've done. The
They
highway's
couldn't.
done that.
But they couldn't have, because if they did, they'd be turning off at that proper time. If the breaker blows, it just turns them off completely.
The lights wouldn't be on at all, so John's saying.
Yeah.
John
So
wouldn't have noticed the lights on in the morning.
it wouldn't be
if it
on at
was
8
because
or
the breaker
4
tripped.
o'clock in the afternoon if the breaker was off.
If the breaker trips, there's no power.
It's like a switch. But if it shorts out, the breaker trips, and there's no power going through the circuit. No power going through the timer, no power going anywhere. If the timer is not adjusted properly, then the lights will be turning on at the wrong.
Hey, don't you think that the electrician would have checked that?
No, we don't need an electrician to check that. We need somebody once a week to go over there, or if they're
But we
in
already have
charge.
an
Should
electrician
go
out there.
go
Yeah.
out there.
We
So
got
would
two
we have
diff-
seen something
We
like
have two
that or
different
tried
issues.
it?
One issue is that they're not setting the timer correctly, and they're not monitoring it correctly. And the other issue is that the electrician determined that we have a short somewhere. And we should look into a short in a public access area. If something's shorting out, it could be one of the light posts or, you know, the circuit. It could be somebody going onto the gazebo and plugging in an electric heater to stay warm.
I've thought of that.
And somebody said that, oh, they're probably out there with an electric heater, because they've seen people there, but I don't even.
All
I'm
right,
gonna
so
know-
before we have Josh send anybody back out there, 2.5 people. Did you see the voice?
John's gonna get a key, and John's gonna look at the timer, and John's gonna figure out if the timer's set properly.
I'm gonna be out tomorrow, if you want me to look at it.
Yeah, if I can
Between
get a
you
key,
and
I'll
I.
just
I'm gonna be out in the morning.
make sure, you don't just
Yeah,
stop in and
I
set
thought
up.
all of you had keys. Remember we made.
Okay, there seems to be a question about
Whether or not the keys
the
work,
key,
because we
because
went
I
out
have
there.
a key.
Right, and I have a key, and one day we went out there, as a matter of fact, we went out there to meet the electrician to open up the box to put a new timer in, and it was the wrong key because the locks were changed and we didn't have the new key.
Here's what happened, the house.
There's padlocks, right?
Okay, here's what happened, give you a little timeline. There was a problem with the timer not working correctly. And the other problem is that the padlock that was on there and the hasp was broken, so it was just sort of hanging on there. Somehow, the padlock disappeared. And then he replaced the timer, the padlock, and the hasp, the whole box, and put a new one in there, so that time, there's a new key. So all the people who had keys before that, theirs would no longer work because that lock disappeared. So you probably have one of the free
That's all good.
electrician So if you have a key that was given to you prior to the electrician changing the timer, then it wouldn't work.
Gail, you have keys down there that you know fit that padlock currently?
Correct.
All right, before I leave, I'd like to compare my key to him to see. Thank you. And like I said, I've got to be out in the morning.
So
I'll stop, and what I'll do is, I'll keep a log of what I do. And if you go there, you keep a log of what you do.
here's
And
the
I'm
thing.
gonna set it for
What?
half an hour after dark.
The daylight savings is this
You know-
weekend.
Yeah.
We have a public works department, and they're supposed to be taking care of this stuff. To set a timer to go off half hour after sunset, that's when it starts getting dark, and to turn off at an hour before sunrise, should be part of their job. If they can't go and take 2 screws and set them on a timer correctly, we have a problem. This is not for the selectmen to be holding hands and wiping noses on setting a timer.
But that's not what I'm suggesting. They're not here on the weekend, and tomorrow's Friday. So I figured over the weekend, because what I was gonna say, if by Monday that keeps going off, then we know.
They're not
And if
here
it doesn't,
tomorrow.
they're at the dump. One of them's at the dump.
Tom, this is week
No,
number 6.
I mean, they're at the dump Saturday.
This is week number 6. Somebody will be there at Public Works tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
Is there any reason why somebody can't spend 20 minutes, go up to the town, to the island, open the box, set the timer, as it should be, and say,
But if
it's
we've
done.
already spent 5 weeks, and we already
6
know,
weeks.
6 weeks, and we've already know that it's not being done properly, why put the same crew out there to do it again if it's not being done properly? Why don't we do it if you know how to do it?
This is
And
their
let's
job.
see if it is not being done properly. We don't know that.
We know it's
Well,
not being
I
done. This is
have
their
one at
job.
home, I can go with them.
I just, my suggestion was
Sure.
just that we could track it over a certain period to see.
What's happening with
happening.
that?
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
I agree
Who
with
can do it
you.
and who can't. It was
Right.
just that whoever is gonna do it needs to keep a log. I was there Friday morning and I did this. And if somebody else is there, then they were there Saturday morning and they did this. And this is what they found. Saturday
Well, I can
morning.
get a key, I mean, I'm around this weekend, I can go and I'll make sure.
I just think it needs to be
You can
monitored.
drive by and see if they're
And then
on.
Monday, we can figure out,
Here's
we'll
the
have a
thing.
pattern and we'll know if
You
it's
should
the
have-
lights or if it's a breaker.
You should have one
Sure.
person in charge of it, so it's one person is responsible for it, and one person reports on it. So that 3 people might go in there and change the adjustment on it a little bit, and then somebody else says that they change it. We don't know. One person should be doing it, reporting what's wrong with it, and answering why it's not
What, should
working.
they do it once a week? Change
No,
the-
I-
Change the settings once a week?
I just
They
think we
should
need,
check it once a week, yes.
I'm saying right now, we take from now until Monday and try to figure out, is it a short, is it, I mean, I'm really curious because John's right. If a breaker trips, there shouldn't be any lights on. So I'm just saying, just take this block of time to investigate. And then if we wanna call Carter and,
You should definitely be calling
We
straight
can do
out
that.
short, but that's not
We
the
can-
problem with the
yeah.
timer.
Okay. Well, I just don't go that way. I always go either
You shouldn't have to. This is
over
Public
to,
Works.
via Shaker Road to exit 20, or take Hodgson Road and go that way on the weekend.
she's avoiding the traffic.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, and occasionally I'll come downtown to go to Polly's or.
You know, once a week,
or
somebody from
Lawrence,
Public
so I just don't
Works,
go that way.
once a week, somebody
Yeah.
from the Public Works should be going over there.
Yep.
We had the same thing going on with the Christmas lights was doing, you know, they were on or they were off, or they were on all day. We had the lights at the gazebo, we went through this last year. Light bulbs that sit there blown out for 3-4 weeks at a time. Somebody's not doing their job. And their job is to monitor it.
I mean,
to
have the
double
lights
check.
come down? I don't even know. Are the lights still on the bridge and the gazebo? I don't know.
All the lights are down.
No, they took the lights down.
Oh, they
The
did
lights
take
are
the
off the
lights down.
trees. Yeah, they've taken my Christmas lights down.
Okay. Haversville Road, I've copied you on all the correspondence.
I say, I saw our latest response from the assistant commissioner. That just didn't sound good. Back to, Sioux State.
Let's do it. Do what? Sue the state?
For Gail Phil.
Mhm.
I think I signed this one.
Well, it's been, what, 2 weeks? February 22nd, and we had a week. So I can get in touch with the governor's office this week and see where they are at. And we haven't heard from our successful bidder on the Winter Street property, have we? I sent them a letter.
Not that I know.
Okay. All right, I'll follow up on that. Probably haven't heard from the person.
I was wondering, what's going on with Sherwood?
April 28th. Greg said, we talk at least every couple of weeks, and he says, oh, I gotta bring in the agreement. I said, yeah, well, come on in. So I'd like to see it.
And the other thing was the, who's responsible, but that sinkhole, I know who's responsible for it, but the sinkhole by the apartment building, there was no
Your street?
barrier around it, and it's open holes, I don't know. Somebody could fall in that.
I thought he had the
Caution things, the stakes.
things in
with
it, did they sink into it?
There was, on the ground, not even up, there was some tape that looked like it had blown away, and it's just,
Yeah,
there should be sawhorses.
John is right,
around
that's
it.
really getting bad.
Whose property is it? Not ours. Do we need to get permission from the property owner to go on?
We do have permission from the property owner.
Okay.
Just for public safety, you know, we have a restaurant near
Well,
there.
it's
people
private
can-
property is my concern.
Yeah, no, I have been in communication with them about it,
But I think sawhorses are appropriate.
yeah,
Around
and
it.
they are, yeah. We have these board committee commission applications, but there's no terms.
Cindy would like to stagger the terms because they were not staggered before, they were just all wiped out at the same time. So we left them blank for her to stagger them.
Doesn't seem full of alternate.
They're all full.
So these people are still appointed until town meeting.
That's correct.
So we could sign these next week when they're complete?
Do you want to have just,
Oh, you know what, you've got 3, 6, oh, you got 2 on that one.
two, Iris and
Can we,
Iris and myself, and do not expire until 2018, the others expire.
Town
And
meeting?
we don't expire till town meeting. The others expire, Jane and Emily, and Sandy is taking Judy Suzadelis' resignation place.
You want me to put the terms on them?
If you want them signed tonight, yeah, I just,
She just needs them signed.
I just,
Two, one.
And are they 3-year terms? And these are full members? Bree, John, Pat. This one doesn't have. So you want to,
So that,
do you want to go ahead and sign them, these?
I'm not signing mine, because my name's on one of them.
Okay, well,
That's why Pat's not signing. So turn them over and you'll see the names. See?
okay,
And that's where the terms are.
all right, and this one still needs a signature, that needs 2 signatures.
She doesn't want to sign them unless there's terms on it.
That's all I have.
I think there's a tan in there that needs to be signed as well.
I think that's signed.
so John asked about this page.
What is it?
because when you met on, what's the date of this letter, February 14th.
Peter hadn't signed it.
So this, I forget which Thursday it was, we discussed Lauren's settlement agreement.
Yep.
Her recommendation, the board had approved it. And I don't process anything until I get the signed settlement agreement. So she presented it to Mark Luter signed it, she signed it, and then went to the Board of Tax and Land Appeal, and the Board of Tax and Land Appeal accepted it. So she was representing the town before the Board of Tax and Land Appeal. So that's why she signed it. And then once I got the order, everything's kosher, then I went ahead and did the, and I had to do 2 of these because it's 16 and 17, and Cindy insists that she has to have each tax year on a separate form.
So they were all set with that?
They had to accept it. I mean, that's,
Good deal.
this is like the second or third, well, this is the second time you've done a reduction on them. This is the Prospect Street one.
Yeah.
So this, 3, I've got 3 signatures. You don't sign this, do you?
No, I signed them, he had a question.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just curious.
I wanted to make sure it was
Yeah.
asked before I signed
Yeah.
it.
Yes, I think so. All right, so just tell me again, the chief, yours expires in,
Make
you want to do 3. And who's the other one you want to do 3? Yeah. Okay, and I'll do 2 and 2 and 1. Okay.
Joyce, I meant to bring this up while you were talking about, I'm scratching it. Members of committees. Cindy would like all of the members of the housing committee to fill out these and be sworn in.
Okay, and also Joe Desmond, or the budget committee, who's ever the representative from the
Lockney.
Lockney.
That's budget.
But yeah, she said that.
In addition to housing committee, she also would like Joe's budget.
Okay, so so she would like, so if we could get those forms filled out for
Yeah.
us, including the selectmen, she wants them sworn into.
Including the,
Well, the health officer and the
Yes.
selectmen.
Well, you might as well pull me, because I won't be able to make meetings. 11 a.m.?
He did that he said he'd talked to you and knew that you couldn't make it. He said you couldn't make it that day, even if we had it in the evening. He just wanted to get a meeting going before town meeting,
Yeah,
so.
it's always in the daytime, it's,
No,
So-
that was just for that one meeting,
I'll wait and see.
yeah. Okay. She also gave me the, current officer and members list the other day.
Yep.
Do you have that?
No.
So this is what, black and white, is the current members right now before town meeting.
Yep.
When you look at the colored one, you'll see that some of them have dropped off because their positions have expired.
Well, technically, they don't expire until someone's replaced them, but go ahead.
We know that. So, all right, so I'm gonna give you these before the meeting's over. I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure.
Okay, I did send emails out to Parks, Bob Hardy, Chuck Mitchell, and Dari to get in touch with the Planning and Zoning Board to find out if there's any members that would like to be reappointed.
Okay.
So, but
There's a lot to be taken off the chat as well.
there's a what?
There's a lot to be taken off of the chat committee
Okay,
that are on that,
okay.
that are either no longer in town or whatever.
All right, selectmen's reports, Peter. Pat?
I have a few things. Let's start with the senior center. First thing we've already talked about, Sandy Plessner. Is replacing Judy Souza-Ellis on the executive committee. And the form is for everyone to be signed.
So she is going to.
Mhm.
Oh, that's good.
Mhm.
That's good. She'll be a good asset.
So I talked to Catherine a little bit yesterday, I think it was yesterday, but it seemed like 100 years ago. The kitchen floor in the senior center is really sinking really badly. So bad that when you open up the door to the hallway, it doesn't, you can't open it all the way, not even halfway, that it scrapes on the hallway floor. When you go into the main hallway, there are two doors, one on the right, one on the left. The kitchen on the left, as you enter the kitchen, it goes down substantial, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches, and then it goes up. And then if you take a right to go into the hallway, it goes like a roller coaster. So we thought about getting in touch with the same carpenter that did this work here to see if he can't look underneath to see what needs to be done to shore up the beams to try to secure it and level it. And then maybe I can write a grant to try to replace the floor. The tiles,
This is the kitchen edition?
this is the kitchen that's in the senior center now. What's in the kitchen is the furnace, the unit is behind the stage
Yeah.
in the kitchen. That's on the kitchen floor, the 2 refrigerators, the sink, the island, the big
Yeah.
oven, the 10-burner oven, plus the kitchen cabinets. I suspect highly that there's no footing underneath the floor. We didn't really do anything to the floor except we put a subfloor, Home Depot put a subfloor on and put the VCT tiles. But now the VCT tiles are breaking up and they're just peeling off now. And so we were thinking about doing it, but I can't justify even writing a grant to have that done because the floor is, when you walk, you feel like you're going forward. That's how it really seems. And when I went to open the door to the hallway, I can't fit in it now. And you can't get a wheelchair in there, which, so if you had a buffet set up in the kitchen, a wheelchair accessible, you can't have it in the kitchen because it can't be. So we really need to address it. Catherine and I will be working on that to try to see what we can get for estimates and what the issues are, what actually it is. A couple of months back, you remember my cousin in Atkinson had given us some lumber to the outbuilding, so we were thinking about using some of our money to spray insulation in the first compartment, which used to be the outhouse. But there's a window way up at the top facing the outbuilding. So with your permission, I'd like to just replace that. It's an old wooden frame. It's not insulated or anything. It's just a single glass, single pane. And I think it's broken many times and they've just plywooded over it. So I think
I'm curious if the glass is wavy. You
No,
know, old
it's
glass,
not.
you look through it,
it's been replaced from that because
that's too bad.
I looked to see if it was the old leaded glass. It's not. It's way up there though. Dennis put some plastic in it and then they put a piece of plywood in its place on one of them, but then now it's glass. It might even be plexiglass, I don't know, but we need something substantial if we're gonna insulate it and then put this wood up for a wall and then put some shelving up so we can have more storage. We really want it to be insulated. So we need to change that window, but I wanna ask before we do it.
Any problems with that?
Any problems with that? Okay. On March 24th, we are partnering with Every Child is Ours. As you know, our seniors package up the food for Every Child is Ours, which is delivered to the schools. So the fundraiser for the Tilton Senior Center and Every Child is Ours is on March 24th at the Applebee's. The Easter Bunny's going to be there. Also, on April 14th, at the Senior Center, this is going to be a trial run for future dinners, evening meals. We will be having a fundraiser for the Community Action Program Meals on Wheels. This will benefit the Meals on Wheels program. Joe Jessamine will be running the spaghetti dinner. It's, I believe the tickets will be $7 for adults. And it will be on April 14th in the evening.
Is that a Wednesday?
I'll tell you in a second.
Saturday.
Saturday,
Oh, April.
April.
I have March in my brain.
Yep. So that's coming, and all the profits will go to Meals on Wheels. Also, during our executive committee meeting on Wednesday, I found out that Joe Jessamine is going to do the island cooking for the senior center.
Oh, cool.
So he's been in touch with Allison. It was an issue of getting volunteers from our group, as you know, over there. He said he'd take care of it, and we don't have a grill or anything. He's going to make sure that a grill gets over there and a grill gets back. But it would be nice, no matter who does it, to be able to have some kind of structure or a small thing to hold something like that, where you can lock it up for the 9 weeks that Island Concerts are over there, and then just off you go. You know, even if it were something like Lowe's donated one of those sheds, and then when the 9 weeks are up, then you put all the benches and everything in it for the winter, and then in the 9 weeks you take the benches out, and then
I
you...
would hate to see a shed on the island.
Yeah, I kind of would too, but a small thing where you could have like
Those
a...
grills are on wheels. So,
You have to wheel it in every week and then wheel it
my
out. That's a
question
pain in
is,
the neck.
what's the matter with the barbecue grill that's out there?
Too small, probably.
It's two-sided.
Fireplace.
Well,
It's a grill, it's two-sided. I know when, in the beginning, they used to, when I first became a selectman, they were using that. They were using that outdoor barbecue grill, and it was great because they were cooking hot dogs on one side, and on the other side, they were cooking hamburgers. It's a great thing. But,
Knowing Joe, he might even get that going, but he said he could take care of everything. I have not spoken with Joe, but you know Joe, I mean, he is great at that. That is just so neat of him to do that, so.
I think that we could ask our Public Works Department to put one on and off, could we not?
Well, they don't work on a Sunday, so it's kind of hard to ask them on a Sunday.
Oh, that's right.
You know, I kind of thought maybe I have a wagon that we could kind of go in and out, one of those garden carts. So I actually have a couple of them, so thought maybe that. And Chief, are we all set for the voting on Tuesday for an officer to be there at all times? I forgot to ask you that earlier. Okay, so we are. And I think that's all I got. I'm done.
John?
Yeah, let's see. On the same note, Lehigh, the Laconia Indian Historical Association, is looking to raise some funds for their scholarship and their education programs that they're running. And they were asking if they could do 3 days of food on the island.
What organization?
Lehigh Coney Indian Historical Association. It's in Sandwich and the address is there. So, but they've been giving money to the scholarship at Winnisquam every year for many years, from the powwows and educational things.
That'll be cool.
Community, and they're having some funding problems. It's minor education programs. So they were asking if it would be possible if they had 3 dates, if they would like to do the food on the island, which is July 8th, 15th, and August 19th.
Oh, during the concerts?
Yeah.
Oh,
Remember I brought it up before, I was going to ask them.
so that would leave us out.
Three,
For those
they just
3
want
days.
3 dates. Maybe if we could get at least 2.
To do the dates. So tell me the dates again.
Okay, July 8th, 15th, and August 19th.
Okay, wait a minute. I gotta find where I wrote this. Hold on.
Last year, the powwow got
July,
rained out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and they didn't have
Make
enough
the
money
money.
to make even their insurance payments.
so July
So
8th,
July 8th and 15th, and August 19th.
okay. I'll certainly bring that up, John. I think that would be a great idea.
At least a couple, I think they were mainly looking for at least the August 19th and the July 8th if possible. The other thing they were asking is if it would be possible to use the Grange or the Senior Center for a dinner on the 21st to raise money. I don't know if there's a fee
21st
of April.
What day is that?
Wednesday? Wasn't the 14th on a Wednesday?
What's the day of the yard sale?
No, it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
That's the townwide yard sale day.
But, you know, I don't make a
Fine,
decision.
I'll be glad to check in
Yeah.
and so the power, so it's at evening, right?
Yeah.
So you need the kitchen.
Well, they're going to have a, I think they would do hot,
Caterer or
no, a,
potluck?
no, like crock pot type thing.
Crock pot buffet?
Prepared foods either. Actually, I think they were doing tacos.
What about, what's the board think?
We've kind of turned the building over to the executive committee, haven't we?
So do the,
So I would, you know, I think it's a great idea if we can
accommodate.
accommodate, but
And, you know, they'd be willing to give something to the building for it. And also, they were talking about some admission for some of the seniors to a powwow and stuff like that. And they also offered that possibly they could do some drumming or something for the powwow, for the seniors down there.
Want to send me an email?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. If you can do that, then I can just, I can present it better.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. And that's just about it. So we're waiting spring so we can open up the salmon run, get that going again. They're going to be doing the kayak racing down through the river again this year on the Northfield side they set up. One of the things I did take another look, and quite a few of those posts have broken, I think, along the river, the guardrail. And that, it's very, very weak, that guardrail, and eroded away, so. But as soon as we don't have snow around it, it's pictures.
very good.
Mention about voting. Because the next time we meet, it's after voting.
Voting is next Tuesday,
Yep.
as per the sign out front?
But, in case they
Come.
don't see the sign.
You
And
vote
vote.
often?
That's right.
Want to do the minutes?
Exercise your right to vote.
Oh, yeah, BPK.
Do we have a, candidate for the Boston Post cane.
It's in your
Yep.
FYI,
I do it right there.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it?
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
in the green FYI folder.
Oh,
The FYI one,
I
left
thought
before
everyone
could
got
read
it. I thought everyone got it and it was in my folder. It wasn't in the FYI, it was in my folder. I thought everyone
Oh,
was
was
got
it in
it.
your folder?
Mm-hmm.
How are you getting yours?
I don't know.
I read it in the green folder.
I read it here.
What is it? It was from Cindy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it should have been
Memorandum.
in the FYI.
it was,
Okay, thank you.
and then I sent it that way.
Uh-huh.
Maybe
Okay,
you separated it.
so,
Either way,
It's always my,
Joyce did it.
just my thought, I don't know what the board feels, but I thought it would be nice if we had this ceremony at the senior center with, I don't know, lunch, cake, ice cream, something, you know, have it festive.
Mhm.
Loves ice cream
No?
and Snickers.
Life is good.
who's gonna get her there? How's she gonna get there? Do we announce it? Do we?
We can have the chief,
What do
pick
we
her
do
up.
about that?
Yeah,
we can call the caretaker and arrange for that to happen. We just gotta figure out the day. It's most likely that she could be there for like a lunch.
Is it a surprise?
We could have,
Probably not.
probably not, we could tell her to be there and we can arrange it with Cindy to make sure that that's the only thing on the plate for that day
And
and
we have the press there too, right?
have the press there and, so if we make it at the beginning of their lunch,
When the weather's better.
the presentation, like on a Tuesday or Thursday, there'd be the most people there. And then present it, they have their lunch, and then we can serve ice cream with Snickers, that's her favorite. And then, you can take her home after that.
So we would plan on having lunch there?
Yeah, we'll plan on, I'd have to leave at 1:30, but
What you think,
It sounds a great idea.
Peter?
Sounds good.
You gonna be there, Peter?
Yeah, John, with you.
You gonna pick me up on the way through?
Yeah.
You can pick me up?
Your jobs,
I will be there in spirit.
your jobs.
What's the date?
They haven't set one.
we haven't set one.
I wonder if I could.
How about April vacation?
If you did vacation, I could.
We could do the April vacation, and that would at least include Peter and me.
And if I know in advance, I can see if I can get scheduled somewhere around.
Last week in,
Stop in for lunch.
Okay,
that would be last week in April.
okay, so why don't you try to,
Okay.
Weather would be
Okay,
much
so-
nicer too, so.
all right, that'll be good.
We could try to do last week in April, and then we could try to figure out when Ashley's day off is during that week,
Mhm.
and then schedule it.
Well, if we schedule it this far out,
Yeah.
you're looking at 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's better weather then.
Okay,
Yeah, let's do that, and I'll talk to Cindy.
I'm gonna hold this announcement of who it is.
Okay.
So let's leave that in the FYI file for a while, and as we get closer.
Where's the FYI? Not in my book, where's the FYI?
It went
Select.
that way, I didn't get to see it. Oh,
Right.
there it is,
Excuse me.
it was hiding. All right, so Andrews Road and Sand, I keep trying to finish this. Does the board feel that we need to know where our boundary of that road is,
Yes.
as it
Yes.
pertains to Mr. Finogle's property?
It's beneficial in the discussion.
Okay. The only way we're gonna do that is through a survey,
We didn't do that before.
not on Andrews.
Well, except for you should have a pin on the corner of Crystal and Andrews.
We do. Well,
There are old pins that Merrill Jackson had put in that are gonna be relatively close. You may be
and I have that survey.
a few inches off, but.
I think Brock found the things last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
I have,
We don't know if they're open.
the
If
Jackson,
they're painted red, Merrill put them in.
I have the Jackson survey right here.
500, maybe 1,000.
Trying to look for a date on it. 1991. It's recorded, survey. Pin, 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 pin. So, how do you propose we proceed? Before we spend money, should we meet there with Public Works and the property owner and agreed upon date and time? And locate the pins and,
Saturday. Oh, it's too much snow.
What specifically is he asking us to do, or is he just complaining?
Too
stop
much.
putting sand on his property.
I don't think can we ever stop seeing
But
from
the
going?
property is where the issue is, because if you look at the property, our property ends maybe 15 feet after the asphalt. So if you walk 15 feet and then look to see where the sand is, are we really into his property or not? That's the issue.
Well, the other thing is, look at the soil survey for the area that's the type of soil sandy.
You're right.
That was pretty
And
good.
actually, it's saying it's not good for growing.
So, he's indicating that the way they've winged this back, these trees are on his property. My suspicion is, we're gonna find the trees are actually on our property.
Yes, like they were over 3M,
Right.
the more I did.
This is what, oh, God. This is what he would like to continue to maintain. This is from 2014. This is now, it's over here. This is all,
Where's the sand going out?
Yeah, but where he's showing you is up in the middle of the yard, isn't he?
That's the
Well-
sand up there?
the sand is going down into this gully along in here and killing everything. He no longer has that green on.
It's definitely a problem.
Yeah, but when you're on sand with minimal gravel, if you're not fertilizing and all, the grass is gonna die. It needs nutrients. There's very little topsoil. It's just an esker, basically.
But no matter how much nutrients and how much loam, if you put sand on top of that, it's gonna kill whatever's there. You have at least this much sand that's there, on
See-
top of that, probably 10 feet out, at least 10 feet. You walk 10 feet from the asphalt,
This is,
the edge of the road, you walk out, you're gonna have that.
This is a good picture. This is a bigger one than the other one that he's showing in this picture, that this that has been winged back is on his property.
We need to get surveyed.
I don't think so.
No, it's the trees are in our property.
I think they are. I don't know, but I think they are, if I remember correctly. So, do we want to pay money and have a surveyor go say
It
yes?
depends on how much
okay?
money, it depends on how much money we're gonna be paying.
Do we want to go out there and
Visual.
find them ourselves
Do the visual first.
and do the visual? With Public Works Director, ourselves, and the resident. I think all have to be there.
I don't know, I just think that we've already done the visual once or twice with
But
this
we've never
person.
done it with the Board of Selectmen, Public Works, and ourselves. I've gone over to look at the sand. I
Dennis-
wasn't there when
Dennis and I.
Rock
did
went
it.
over and found the pins,
Mhm.
but we've never had the board over there, at least the majority of them.
I've never walked the pins with him, but Dennis and I and he went over and looked at it, but we never walked to see the pins where they were to determine, yes, this is our property, no, this is not their property, but I had a feeling that this is,
I think
I'm
the-
okay with doing that first.
I think the first step, Peter's right, before we spend the money, go over and visually.
Get the snow melted so it's easier to
Could we
find
do
it.
it on a Saturday morning?
Mhm. Okay with that.
You available? You available?
When, this Saturday? You're gonna be digging then?
No, it'll have to be, it'll have to be after town meeting, it'll have to be after
31st.
school district meeting.
31st would be your first Saturday.
So it'll be at the end of the month. I
By
mean,
then
we're
by then,
already
the snow will
through,
be gone too.
we're already through this winter season.
Yeah,
I
So
think so.
the snow.
31st I'll be available, 24th I'm not,
right.
but the 31st I'll be
Do the
available.
next Tuesday.
So the 31st,
Yep,
Joyce, would you try to arrange that in the morning?
March 31st?
Mhm.
Everybody good with the morning?
yes.
With Brock?
Not 5 AM like you did with the property boundaries, please. Not on a Saturday.
Looks good with me.
If you
Yeah.
Dad, if we make noise, then you have to wait.
Let Ashley know as soon as possible, so she can try to
Peter, all
arrange
he
her
has to do is
schedule.
roll out of bed.
Well, do you want me to start with him to see if he's available that morning?
Start with him, see if he's available.
Yep.
Tentatively let Ashley know that this is taking place.
Mhm.
Now let Brock know what we're discussing, and I'm good. That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
You want to do minutes or not?
They're very brief.
All right, let's do minutes. I kind of like motion to adjourn. Notice I
You
was-
notice I paused though.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.
You're welcome. I heard you earlier.
Oh, they are at the end. March 1st. Oh, I've read these.
Motion to accept the minutes is written.
Is this something? Yes, I made,
Oh, there's some on the back too, I'm sorry, hold on a minute.
yeah, I made a change to the back. It said, Selectmen's reports, as the lettering was adhered to the plastic, it's metal, so I asked Gail to change it to metal.
I stand with my motion.
Second.
Everybody good?
Yep.
All those
Aye.
in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I
Aye.
already did that, that's what you're
Nice
eyeing
job.
for.
Read motion.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Good meeting, lot done.
We did get a lot done.